All right, welcome back live from Drew's house, another edition. Hope everybody's doing all right out there. Hope you all had a good Memorial Day. A little different this year. I know ours was with all the social distancing and all that, but hopefully you got to see some people, kept to the guidelines. My name's Drew Moholland. This is my wife, Sarah Conway, live from our kitchen once again. Thanks all for coming back in. How are you, Sarah? Cheers.
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Drew?
Doing good. Felt a little different through a pandemic having Memorial Day, but I think the whole summer is going to be that way in a lot of regards, don't you?
Yeah, the weather was nice. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Big guest today, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. Excited about this?
Very exciting.
He's a busy man, so we expect him, we really respect him taking some time and joining the show. Longtime Boston resident, you?
I did live in Boston for quite some time.
Me too. We enjoyed it.
6 years.
We enjoyed it very much. What a great city
Love
to live
Boston.
in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. I don't know. You got any questions for him? Or I think he's about ready to go, actually. I don't want to make the mayor wait.
Oh, yeah. Don't make the mayor wait. I don't have any. I'm going to leave the questions to the professional for this one.
You were very qualified. I know you told me.
I'm not qualified to ask the mayor any questions.
For a long time. But anyways, he's got a lot on his plate right now. So we're just going to have a little talk about it. We'll talk about all this stuff going on, and should be fun. I appreciate him doing it. Let's see. I think he's about ready to go. So thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you coming in.
No, yeah, of course. I'm leaving.
All right. We bring in Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, who's good enough to join us. A very busy man. Mayor Walsh, thank you so much for doing it. I appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here today.
It's yes. Welcome to the kitchen. This is life doing these shows from home. It's you're probably a Zoom expert by now, if I had to guess.
I am. We're on Zooms all day, and then tonight I'll be on a Zoom call with Mayor's probably from my I have a little office in my house, so I'll be in there.
Understood. So we're coming to you from you're coming to us from the office. I know. I got to ask you on a personal level first. How is the hunkering down, quarantining bed? I know you've been out and about trying to brief the city almost every day these days, but what's it been like personally for you?
Well, it's pretty much from my house to City Hall to my house. I've done, in the last 10 weeks, the only two kind of public events I've done was one, there was a drive for Officer Jose Fontanez, who passed away from COVID. Yeah. And then yesterday I was part of a little bit of a parade celebrating a guy from Charlestown, Billy Boyle, who's sick, and they had some fire trucks out there. So other than that, I have not done any public events. I haven't gone to any places. All my press conferences are here at City Hall, or I do Zoom calls from home. So it was kind of funny going to another neighborhood. Like I hadn't been in Charlestown in like 3 months, and it's just been strange when you go around other places. You miss it actually.
Yeah, I mean, all those little things, especially you, because I mean, you got to be in all these different Boston neighborhoods in normal life, and it's going to be strange for you to even say that. I haven't been to Charlestown in 3 months.
It is, and I shake hands. I'm a hugger, and when you can't, like, I haven't done that. Like, I literally haven't shaken a hand in 3 months. I mean, I haven't given a hug in 3 months. It's just kind of like it's just hard. It's a different way of life. I'll tell you that.
I know you've expressed many, we had this Memorial Day weekend, which I can't even believe has already, come and gone here in this case, but it just seemed to come up fast, and it just felt, everything feels different. The approach of summer feels different. It's just a different feel out there. And I know you've expressed a lot of concerns about people kind of coming back to normal and thinking they can hang out and have these cookouts with 50 people. And that's been a big thing of yours is, we got to keep the social distancing. And it seems like you've been wanting to reiterate that every time you can.
Yeah, I do. Because, in human nature, we want to be out, on a nice day, we want to be outside. We want to go for a walk. Kids want to play sports. People want to be together. And as we think about this, the way I'm trying to find a right way to describe the coronavirus, but we've had, 10 weeks of shutting everything down, preaching social distancing, preaching physical distancing, preaching all that stuff. And now as we think about opening up, it's going to open up. It's going to be different than it was before we shut it down, because we still have to be preaching social distancing, physical distancing, washing hands, because the virus is still very much front and center. And the only thing that's changed, the only thing that's going to change over the course of the next few weeks is that people are going to be going to work, and society is going to look a little normal, but it's going to be very different. And I think that, that's kind of like, we're in a transition phase here. I think that we have to do and figure out how we're going to do the transition phase. It's going to be, people are going to be sick of hearing me talking about that, but we still, in Boston, 700,000 people city, We did a study with Mass General. So I'm rounding it up. So 600,000 people do not have coronavirus or carry the virus in the city, which means there's a lot of potential outbreaks here in the city. So when we go back to society, when you go back to the office and we all go back to doing stuff, it's going to be a very different feel in those places.
You know, it's obviously such a tough thing. Every community really in the country has their own dynamics, their own numbers that they're looking at. And Boston is obviously one of the hardest hit in the country. It's talk about that balance, because I know you have a lot of these restaurant owners that of course are very vocal, we can't get by without opening. That's really one of the harder hit industries. And I think, I come from a family of nurses that they tell me about how terrible this is. And this, please stay inside, please. You have no idea what it's like inside these hospital rooms. And, I had one nurse on here who actually got emotional and started crying about it, talking about it. So it's brutal. And then you have the other side though. And I know you get this where, these restaurant owners in the North End, very upset that they can't open up. And, I'd rather take my chances, you hear a lot. And it's that balance. I know you guys don't take that lightly. I'm guessing you probably have some sleepless nights even thinking about those business owners who are struggling.
It is. It is a balance. You just said that. And I think for the first 10 weeks here, most people understood the scenario and the seriousness of this. And even though they still understand it, they think they're going to go back to normal. It's not going to happen. And I was on the radio on a show today, and I was telling people, like, you need to, I don't want to tell people to calm down, because they're going to come back with my livelihood and my business and my blood and sweat and tears. I understand that, but we have to understand that as we transition into it's going to be a different society. And I think that, I certainly understand, as being the mayor of Boston, the economic impact it has by not having restaurants on the city of Boston. I can't even imagine the economic impact a business owner would have of a restaurant. But yelling about it is not going to make it any better. This was not caused by Democrats or Republicans. This was not caused by elected officials. This is a worldwide pandemic, and understanding that we're not through the other side of it. People can get upset all they want, but the reality of it is, to your family's point, the medical professionals are telling us to continue to take this serious. And I think this balance, it's not, and I've said this many times now, it's not health and wellness against the economy. It's all together. And we have to figure out how do we make this work in this new kind of society. Almost every single country in the world has been impacted by COVID-19. Almost every single country in the world. I mean, this is not like it's a Boston thing or a Northeast country thing. This is a major pandemic that we have to try and calm nerves down and keep people somewhat focused on the task at hand.
And it is good to hear that, I think, from a personal level, because I know you guys all have these conversations behind the scenes, and I'm sure there's different opinions and, different ways that we could go. And I think for those owners, I do think it's, I think sometimes it's nice to hear that, these things are being thought about and they're not being taken lightly, these decisions.
No, and I'll tell you, with restaurants and stuff, what I think is the trickier thing going to be, the tricky is how do you open it safely, and how do you get the right number in there so a restaurant can make some money or break even. The second thing is, what the folks have to think about is, if they're not safe and people don't think a lot of thought went into opening them, then people aren't going to go into them. And I think that if it's not just simply opening up, there's a restaurant out here, Sam Adams across the street. It's not just about opening them up. It's about making people know that they can go back in there, they feel safe going in there. Because other than that, you'll have a bunch of restaurants open with no customers, and that's not going to help matters either. So it's a little bit of both, and people want to know. I mean, like I said, I was on a radio call today, and people are upset that colleges are opening in September. If they do, they're upset that the T it doesn't have better plans. People are upset with a whole bunch of different things, and it really is having thoughtful plans and thoughtful conversations, so that when we do reopen things, people can say, "Oh wow, a lot of thought's been put into it." Example of that is construction. When we closed construction down, it was controversial. People said, "Why are you shutting it down?" When we reopened construction, we put together a really comprehensive safety plan. And the construction workers, a lot of them went back to work because they know there's a safety plan that's in their best interest. So they're going back to work. They know that if they test positive, we're working on tracing. If they're on the job site, there's personal protective equipment. There's all this protocol. They know that they're being looked out for. And I think that the same is going to go for offices, for the MBTA, for restaurants, even going back to stadiums. I mean, if people feel like they're safe going back to Bruins, Celtics, Red Sox, Patriots games, they will. I mean, I'm a season ticket holder. I mean, I'd love to go to the game in September, opening day. I haven't missed one in forever. If when that time comes and fans are going to the game and I feel safe about it, then I'll go to the game. If I feel that it was just kind of spur of the moment, we opened it because we had to, maybe I won't go to that game.
Yeah, there's going to be definitely an element of that. Will people go back? I know you mentioned this a little bit over the last couple of weeks, that idea. You said you would allow, or you'd be fine with, if they can figure it out, playing games in empty stadiums. Let's talk baseball season, Fenway Park. It would be unique, but the German soccer seems to be doing okay with it in the first week or two. A little bit weird watching an empty stadium event, but the sport is still there. Still any details or progress on that? Or
no, they're still working. From what I understand, the last I heard from the Red Sox was that the players were negotiating, having conversations about it. Yeah. I know that basketball and hockey are having conversations as well about doing something. I think that would be great. I mean, I'm a huge sports guy, so I wouldn't mind watching NHL playoffs in July. Yeah, if that's the case. I think athletes, for the fans, most athletes play in front of fans. I think they just drown out the noise. Yeah, I don't think that some people love playing in away stadiums, so the fans don't have an impact. I think there's certain games like basketball, maybe even hockey, that you get a little psyched up over it and you pick a little emotion up over it. But I think that these players are professionals that can play without fans. It would be weird maybe, but at least I'd like to see sports back on TV.
It'd be something to watch, right?
Oh my God, yeah. I spent a lot of time watching, I watched the 81 Celtics a couple games. I watched the 70 Bruins, the 88 Bruins, 89 Bruins, 90 Bruins. They're on TV. It's been fun watching those games. I watched the 2004 World Series again. We know what the outcomes are. It was fun watching those way back games because I was a kid then. But there's nothing like having real sports on.
I had I went out with my cousin who's younger than me, about 10 years younger. I'm 33. And he made the comment to me that he watched the Michael Jordan documentary, and he said, I kind of missed all of Michael. He goes, that guy was really, really the real deal, huh? And I said, yeah, I was young. I got I was there for some moments, but he was.
I'm 53. Good. I saw the whole thing. He was good.
There you go. You can teach us both, I guess.
Larry Bird was good too back in '81.
Yeah, there were some good moments with Larry in that documentary as well. But again, we're joined here by Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, nice enough to join us with his busy schedule. We used to even joke about it openly. I've heard you joke about it. Your great relationship with Governor Baker going back really from day one, probably one of the better working relationships, big city mayor, first governor in the country. I would like to see one that has been, at least from the outside, more great to really watch as far as just kind of on the same page and working together. It's been good. I noticed when the first phase came out, you said, Boston doesn't necessarily have to go along with those plans. And you didn't quite divert. I think you mostly are going to stay with him, but you're going to run Boston like you think is right. And it is different. It's the biggest city. I mean, it's the hardest hit city. You have to treat it differently, right?
Let me just touch upon two things. I think it's really important when you watch these other cities and states in the country operate, when the mayor and the governor or elected officials are on the same page, it causes confusion. And I think that people don't need confusion right now. People have enough concern in their life to not have their elected officials fighting and picking sides. So that's first and foremost. Myself and the governor, we all agree that the economy needs to open up. We all agree that people need to stay safe. We agree on all that stuff. And I think that when he came down with the first phase of reopening, he talked to me about offices, and I said to him that, I would prefer if Boston wait a week to reopen the economy for the office space, and that gives us time to come up with a footprint and some guidelines along what we want to do. And he understood that. I mean, we're a city of 700,000 people. We double in size every day, so we're in a different place than some other places. But so he understood that, and I think that's a good thing. I think with barbershops and things like that, I think I would have loved to have stayed closed a little longer, but the rule was made, so we're working, trying to assist some barbershops and hair salons how to open up. So I do think it's important that we move forward because we ultimately have the same exact goal.
Yeah, you may notice I have not hit a barbershop in a while. I have this is probably the longest I've ever had it at this point, I think.
Mine too. Mine looks cut right now, but if like you came here, if I went like this, the gel out, it might not look like you, but I'm pretty getting close to it.
If I was under the impression this was your last meeting of the day, well, I might ask you to do that, but I won't do that because I know you got other things on the side.
I know it's somebody came in my office and say, "Wow, you're really great," because it's all coming on the sides. I mean, it's there, but when it's trimmed short, you don't see it. Now it's like curling up, and it's not me.
Well, there you go. You've kept it together. I have arguably lost control, but it is a great thing to watch you and the governor. And I know, he's in Swampscott too, another hard hit community north of Boston has had it pretty rough. And it is true. Things differ as, different parts of the state, but it's definitely a hard hit community there, Swampscott. Do you guys talk every day? I mean, is that one of those things you're consistently talking?
We talk a lot. Some weeks we talk more than others. There hasn't been probably more than 3 or 4 days that have gone by. We didn't talk. We talked like 3 times yesterday. Yeah. Constantly bouncing ideas off each other. And one thing I got to say, I mean, I think he spends a lot of time taking advice and talking to elected officials, which is good. I spend a lot of time talking to other mayors and stuff. So he does take a lot of advice, and we're kicking the ideas off each other about what would you do here? How would you open this? What do you do there? What are the implications? So we do spend time. What are you hearing in Boston? I do a lot of talking with the governor. We're on a lot of similar calls together. And then I also do a call 3 times a week with mayors from around Massachusetts, eastern Massachusetts, that we're on a call roughly 3 times a week. And I spend a lot of time talking to mayors from around the country just to share best practices and ideas. So I think you don't have to it doesn't have to be an original idea on everything you do. You can take somebody else's idea if it works.
Absolutely. We have a lot of local musicians on this show. And we'll do live performances, and it's one of those communities that has been in particularly hard hit. It's just tough avenues to, that's how they make their living, restaurants, bars, maybe theaters if you're big enough. I wonder, as you look ahead, I mean, we've talked restaurants a little bit, but the idea of even opening a small theater seems kind of almost far-fetched at the moment. I mean, we're going to have socially distant concerts. Has that been talked about yet? Or are we far away?
No, I don't think, as you know, I don't think you can pull off social distancing concerts. And I think that, theaters and movie theaters and things like that, I think we're a bit away from those to be open, because I don't think it's the value or they don't make any money by just kind of opening and social distancing in the place. They need to have massive amount of people there. So, those are things that are going to be those are the harder things that are going to come back. I think whether it's a concert or a game, movie theaters, even hospitality when it comes to tourists and things like that. All of those are going to. I think we're months and months away from seeing any of those industries open up. And it kind of stinks because you can't have a virtual concert. I mean, I don't think the artists can make much money on virtual concerts, and I think that they're okay to watch, but it's a video. Basically, and you lose, it's like MTV or VH1. It's a video, and I think people want to be there in person.
It's too bad too, because it is one of those communities that I find the musicians are really doing a lot to keep us entertained. I know a lot of people I know. I'm being able to stream a live hour every single night, and it's something I'm into. My wife is already sick of me. She goes, "We can't do another stream tonight. Can we watch something else?" But it's like all these people that I've known and met through the show or whatever, and it's they're out there giving it their all for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. And this is what they're doing now. It's respectable in a lot of ways, but I know it's a tough time for the local musician.
But I'll tell you, when you stream some of that, it's a way to see them perform without all the technology. Yeah. And I saw John Legend perform the other night. The guy was amazing. Yeah, he was playing on his piano in his house, and I'm thinking what? He's a guy that could just pop on the corner of the street and start playing and it'd be amazing. And other people have the technology that kind of soups it up a bit. So did
he have all those Grammy awards next to him like he did?
Of course he did. Yeah, they're all on the shelf. But it was just interesting watching, and I've seen some of that. And they did a concert for the World Health Organization and different music, different types of music and stuff. It was good to see that. It does distract you a little bit. But your wife is right. I mean, it's just kind of it's almost time for live stuff.
Yeah, and as usual, I overdo it, which is tends to be the case with me. But I had one, actually, to your point about the applause. I had one artist on here who said, it was kind of odd because I'm in the house with my girlfriend and her daughter. And so it's the two of them and they're applauding. And it kind of brought me back to the sad bars back in the day when it was a rough crowd. It's like 2 applauses doesn't quite sound, it's not exactly a roar. But again, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh joining us. A few questions came in on our Twitter handle and otherwise. Barrett here from East Boston has been a little bit concerned. He goes, "I'm wearing a mask everywhere I go. walking the streets, that sort of thing. It doesn't seem like the people that are outside walking the dogs, running and all that are wearing the masks. What's your take on masks right now? I know it's a tough thing. That is a big life-changing thing for a lot of people, but what's your take?
First and foremost, Barry, keep wearing your mask. That's important to do. I wear my mask when I'm outside. I wear my mask when I walk outside my office here, go to the hallway, or if I, go to, not the store from here, but when I'm walking around the neighborhood, if I do any walking, I have a mask on. People are gonna, if you don't wear the mask, there's a good chance that somebody does not have coronavirus, and they could be a carrier. If they don't wear a mask, they're gonna get the coronavirus. They're gonna wish they wore a mask. And I think that, we're gonna continually push that message out there in the city. And our police officers last week actually delivered 25,000 masks to residents of the city.
Wow, is that right? Here's another one from Steve in Hyde Park. He's apparently a red line user. He says, quite frankly, I am petrified to ever get on the red line again. Yeah, 17%. I saw a poll somewhere. There's a country, nationwide poll, 17% of the country has faith in the public transportation system. And something like 72% doesn't want to go back on it. It's in the country. So there's a lot of concerns there. You're in a capsule, you're in a tunnel. There's some concerns there, and the MBTA, is talking more and more about cleaning procedures and things like that. So I think again, that's going to be about how do we return back to society, going to work, and we're doing the proper social distancing and the proper PPE, meaning the masks. I think we'll be able to go back on the T again, but it's going to be a different ride. I mean, I think that in America, we don't see people walking around masks all day. Well, we didn't prior to this. And that's going to be the new norm for quite some time. A quick sidebar on the T too. I remember a big part of I know you were a strong pusher of the Olympic bid that ended up getting knocked down here for Boston. What year was that going to be, the Olympics? That was 2024. 2024. But it turned out to be LA got it at 2028. LA cut a deal. They went in France. Paris is going to have it 2024, and LA is going to have it 2028. I remember one of those big arguments of having the games here in Boston was that the people on the pro side were, if you want to look at an opportunity to improve the T, improve your commuter rail, this is a way to get money in and do it. I remember that being pushed a lot. Do you still regret that? Do you still feel like that would have been a real good thing for the city of Boston to have the Olympic Games come here? Yeah, let me just explain this. So LA has them in 2028. LA is making a, $5 billion, I think, investment in their transit system. Yeah. And it has to be ready by 2028. Yeah. That's all I have to say. And, I talked to, like the Olympic thing, a couple things there. It happened early in my term. So I'm in office probably about 8-7 months. We weren't prepared for the day after the Olympics. And I don't want to, this could start the whole thing up again. And it's not meant to start the whole thing up again, but I think it was a unique opportunity for Boston as far as moving forward with the Olympics. And I'm not looking to rehash it. So anyone who wants to start writing stories and all this stuff, please don't do it. But I think it was a unique opportunity for Boston. LA is already making money on the 2028 games. They already have $100 million in a reserve account, $128 million right now. But I think that, what it did do, and we didn't get it, but what it did do, it forced us to look at things differently. It forced us to look at public transit, housing, and economic development and expansion and different things like that. So I think that, do I think Boston could have pulled it off? Absolutely. And I think it would have been one of the greatest Olympic Games in the history of Olympic Games. The fact that we didn't get it, there's still a lot of good things that came out of the conversation. Yeah, and just a side note to that, I had Torrey Mazzola of the commuter rail on, and I asked, that was before his time, but I asked him, just for your opinion, what would have happened? Would it have worked? And he goes, let me tell you this, usually big cities find a way to make these things happen in that regard. So, that was his take on it. So he's the spokesman for the commuter rail, Torrey Mazzola. But anyway, I digress. I've been hitting some questions here. Again, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh joining us, nice enough to take his time out of this busy schedule. Nobody plans for a global pandemic. This is, I haven't seen any politician anywhere in the world get blamed for this thing on the doorstep. There's been some criticism for how different leaders have handled it around the world. Okay. What has this been like, having this kind of dropped at the doorstep? You don't see this coming. You don't necessarily plan for this, maybe a little bit, but this has been crazy. No, it changes the way that you govern, changes the way that we operate around here at City Hall. I'm in City Hall right now. It's coronavirus all day, every day, whether it's about,
treating people that need help. It's about reacting to situations that might have come up, or how do we move forward as a city. You know, there has been occasional meetings here and there about developments or about neighborhoods and things like that. But you know, my day is very much the same. I start off at 8 o'clock with a crisis response call here in City Hall. We go through the day, about 100 people on the call. 9:30 a hospital call. 10 o'clock call at City Council. You know, 10:30 we're often doing from 10:30 to generally the end of the night. We're doing calls like this, or we're doing calls around reopening and how to reopen certain things. You know, it's a very busy day. My day goes by really fast. But it's very different. I mean, I can't, you know, focus on the issues we want to focus on, building more affordable housing and things like that. I mean, that's starting to creep back in, which is good. But for the last 10 weeks, it's almost like, you know, the third week of March, everything stopped.
Yeah.
And it hasn't started back yet. And now we're in the third week of May. And everything just literally stopped. And I think that for me, as you know, I'm governing, I guess. I'm governing more, which is good. But you know, I'm kind of curious to see what does it mean for us when we come out of it? Like, what's the economic impact's going to be? What is our society going to be like? Are people going to be more tolerant and patient with each other? Are people going to be less critical of each other? Or are we going to go right back to the kind of fast pace, you know, where we were beforehand? I don't know what the answer to that question yet.
You know, one of the things that I think probably helped you get elected as well, but also it seems like people are very comfortable coming to you and sharing stories, even if they're tough ones. I wonder if one hits home with you, whether it be a letter or phone call, or I know you're trying to keep this, you know, distance and not attend too many events like you used to. But is there any story through this all that's kind of hit home with you that is a tough one?
There's been a couple. I think one that we talked about. So we shut City Hall down except for 2 days a week, Tuesday and Friday, and you have to have an appointment to go get a license or what have you. And a lot of people work from home. And there was a person that was in the hospital dying and of COVID, and that person's partner, they wanted to get married. And generally there's a process you apply. And within like 12 or 24 hours, we were able to get the license done, the ceremony performed, and this couple got married. And then, you know, obviously the other person, that person's husband, they lost their husband to death from COVID-19. And when you think about that, it just shows you like that took a lot of people that didn't know anybody to come together really quickly to get the license, the permit, the license, the certificate, and get it done in time. That kind of hit. That showed me like the fragileness of human life, and in a desperate moment that people do come together to help each other out. And that's kind of how I felt. And then that was one story. And then yesterday, I mentioned this guy's name a minute ago. His name is Billy Boyle. He's a Boston firefighter, lifelong Charlestown guy. You know, everyone in the community loves him, and he has a terminal illness. And he was sent home with hospice the other day to be back in Charlestown, and everyone loved this guy. So yesterday we had a parade for him, a car parade, and you know, it was Billy Boyle Day in the city of Boston. I present them with a proclamation. I present them with a street sign. We're outside his house, second floor house. He was too weak to come to the window, so his grandchildren streamed it on Apple TV for their grandfather to watch the people and the cars outside go by. So, and what I said was, and I thought after that, you know, that story reminded me of like, you know, even though we're going through all this terrible time and people are frustrated and scared and everything else coming on with it, people are very kind and people care about each other, and we're going to get through this. And that's kind of like two stories that kind of, that have inspired me in some ways. One's it ended sad, and they both might end sad, but there was moments of inspiration there.
Those are good, and those are the things you look back on. I bet you'll be very happy that you're able to make that marriage work in 10, 15 years. When you look back, it's probably going to be one of those good moments in a terrible, terrible situation. I wonder, I'm coming to you today from Danvers, Massachusetts. That's where I live. So about 25, 30 minutes from you. And Danvers is, you know, not necessarily a small town, but it is not Boston. And I think shutting down Danvers is pretty incredible. I mean, especially in those early weeks, everybody was staying in. It was ghostly. I mean, it's a crazy feeling. Boston, that's going to be, I mean, those streets of Boston looking downtown and empty, it felt
Right.
weird. The monumental task to shut everything down. I think in 10, 15 years, we're going to look back and say that was pretty crazy.
It was. I look out my window a lot. That's why I keep looking to, I think, left on the screen, right for me. And like, I literally right now at Faneuil Hall, there's one guy riding a bicycle, another person coming this way on a bicycle, and one person walking in Faneuil Hall.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost 80 degrees outside. This place will be packed with people.
Yeah.
And the most people I've seen in Faneuil Hall in the last 10 weeks I counted 6 walking through Faneuil Hall. And like, there's no one there. I mean, there's just no one. Now there's 2 people walking. And it's just crazy. And you know, I went to Samuel Grasses the other day. I walked up to get, a sandwich at Samuel Grasses, and like, there's no one out.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just bizarre for downtown Crossing. It's just like, there's all kinds of people here. And it's
I can see the shock still in your face. Just I'm looking out the window. I can see you're still kind of
great to people watch, you know, and you can make, there's 2 cars driving here on Congress Street. There's usually about, you know, right now we're in rush hour. So it's been interesting to just kind of see it. Even in my neighborhood, I mean, people walk a path or what have you. The one thing that's been, I guess, if there's a silver lining to it, not the silver lining, but neighbors are talking to each other again.
Yeah.
When we grew up, I grew up in Dorchester, and I live in Dorchester now, but I grew up, like, we all knew our neighbors, and kind of the parents sat on the porch, we played in the street, and everyone was kind of there. And then for a long time, that just went away. So people are talking to each other, which I think is nice. You know, everyone's saying hi to each other. And so I think all that's nice. Having dinner at home with the family. I mean, when I was a kid, we had to eat at 5 o'clock. There was no exceptions, but that kind of went takeout and everything else. Like, we're eating shifts now. But now after COVID, you know, back sitting at the table again, having conversation about the day, you know, that's added a little bit of nostalgia, I guess, for me anyway, to this thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had one parent of young kids say to me recently, you know, I used to not be able to get my young kids off the phone. It's like they're always glued to the thing. And now it seems like they're sick of that. All they want to do is talk and find something to do in the yard. You know, it's very different.
Which is good, you know, and it's hard for kids. I mean, you think about, you know, I was talking to Laurie the other day about it, and I said that, you know, for 12-year-olds, it's their last year of Little League. Yeah. Right now, I know obviously you have school, graduates too, but last year of Little League, so they just lost that, and they lost the whole season of sports. They're losing the whole season of soccer. They lost half their hockey season. Like, the kids that played sports or whatever they did, like, they lose all that stuff. Graduation for 12th graders. I mean, some people just, you know, they live to do the prom and graduate, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it is an adjustment for our kids too.
And it's different for everybody too. I've heard some people kind of roll their eyes when they talk about, you know, the seniors in high school are going to be okay. Trust me. But that is a big time. I don't necessarily remember my graduation that much, but I guess it's different for everybody. But I remember the prom very well. I remember all those other things that come with senior year. I remember playing baseball and, you know, playing tennis and like all that stuff. It's a big time. And it was like one of the best years I can remember looking back, and you really grow, and it's your last year before you go off, and, you know, your childhood friends, you kind of go your different ways. And
you're transitioning. You go from being a child to almost being an adult.
Yeah.
I think that like, if there's a transition phase, it's not from 9th to get to 10th grade. It's really from 12th to college, or 12th to, because you're either going to college, which you're going away, or you're going to work public. You're going to work full time, and you're not a student anymore. And I think a lot of these kids lost, I mean, since March, they lost that.
It is. It's definitely a real thing. And of course, the colleges, you mentioned that a little bit earlier, Boston, with all the colleges, this must be a whole different animal for you, trying to see how each university, each campus wants to deal with this.
It is. And you look at college,
their own opinion.
Education, it's about, they're part of the economy too. And they're all their own little company. And, you know, a lot of them want to come back in September, and I hope they can. And some have announced they're going to come back in September, but I still think that we don't know what's going to happen between now and September.
I want to ask you a couple of fun ones in a moment. I'm missing this one, Dan from Natick here. I know not one of your residents, but Dan, it's a fair question. We talked about office space a little bit, and when can people go back to the office? He says, without a vaccine, I'm not really comfortable with more than 25% of people in an office. What are your takes on that?
Yeah, I think Dan is right there. I mean, we're gonna come up with a plan for August for June 1st here in Boston. My suggestion to companies is as much work from home you can do in the beginning, you do that. I think that, you know, bringing people in, a large group of people into any office setting could be dangerous, and I think you have to do it in shifts. We're looking at City Hall, like when we open up, how are we going to do it? We're trying to figure that out now. Maybe we do, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, do staggered hours so people don't have to be overcrowded on the MBTA. That's a plan that has to be well thought out.
I know when a pandemic is dropped at your doorstep, you don't necessarily, I'm sure nobody will be able to look back and say they pitched a perfect game. Is there anything you wish you did differently here so far, or is that going to be for a later time?
I think it's for a later time. We need to make sure as we open up, we get it right. We just can't. My concern is we open up, and if it opens up too quickly and the proper procedures aren't put in place, then we see this number jump again. We have to shut everything down again. I don't think our economy can afford to be shut down the way it was the last 10 weeks again.
All right, we usually do some rapid fire here towards the end of the show. First thing that hits your, I have no way to hold you to this, but the first thing that comes to mind, you got to answer with, all right?
All right.
Favorite concert you ever been to?
Favorite concert?
Yep.
Oh, U2, Sullivan Stadium, back around I would say it was 91, 92. It was unbelievable.
U2, all right. And well, here, I'll ask you this one then. Sullivan Stadium or Gillette Stadium?
Sullivan Stadium.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is your preference. No, I'm asking your preference.
Sullivan, Gillette Stadium.
Okay.
The old Boston Garden, no.
Okay. So yeah, that's I'm wondering, because a lot of people say that about the Garden. I don't hear too many arguments. Most people like Gillette over Sullivan Stadium.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sullivan Stadium was terrible.
Yeah. Were you were a season, how many years have you been?
I was a season ticket holder. I was telling myself the other day, in the old stadium, there used to be those metal benches.
Yeah.
Everybody had a metal bench, and you had to buy this like seat you put on with a little back on it. So I was looking at it the other day. In my new seats at Sullivan Stadium, I was fucked on Gillette. I'm on like the 20-yard line on the visitor side on end seats, so it's great.
My dad used to take me. I went to the Garden a little bit, but I was young. I don't really have great memories of it. He always says you'll never know what it was like to really spend a lot of time in the old Garden.
I had season tickets to the Bruins. I got them in 1988. Yeah. I had them from 88 to 95. 95 was the first year of the new place. Yeah. And I was there when the Bruins went to the Cup against the Oilers twice, when they knocked the Montreal Canadiens out of the playoffs for the first time ever. It was unbelievable. So I was at a lot of Bruins games there.
All right, so we digressed. You two, the favorite concert. What is the favorite musician?
I don't know. I'd say there's a couple. I'd say Prince is one of them.
Prince, a good one. All right, very good.
Was super talented.
He is my guy that people ask me, I go to a lot of concerts. People ask me, who's like the guy you didn't get to see? And I actually had a chance to see Prince. I remember passing it down at the Garden, whatever year he came around last. And I think I ended up going up to Maine, family weekend. And I thought, we'll see him some other time. And he's one of those guys that I wish I saw that I never got to see. I
think his last concert was in 2013 at Connecticut at one of the casinos I was at. I think that was his last concert.
No kidding.
I go there as mayor-elect, and I'm in the bathroom, and I look next to me. Who's next to me? A Boston Globe reporter. I'm like, oh, man. But, somebody who I didn't see, I would have loved to have seen her in concert. Whitney Houston. I think her voice is unbelievable. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very good answer there. Favorite movie? Oh, God. Favorite movie? I have like four of them, okay? Man on Fire, Braveheart. Life is Beautiful, which is a French film. It's a great movie. I would say those are probably Braveheart, Man on Fire, and Life is Beautiful, like my three top. Favorite actor or actress? Favorite actor, I think different genres, but I think Denzel Washington just plays a cool person in almost every single movie he's in. And favorite actress is, I have a whole bunch of them. I guess I'll go with Julia Roberts. Okay. Man on Fire is I don't know if underrated's right, because that got enough love, but that's one of my favorite movies too. Didn't get enough love. It didn't. You can jump in that movie anytime and watch it from that. That's how I'd say a movie's good. Like when you can jump in at any time in the movie and it captures you. So if you have an hour left, you watch the hour. If you have 20 minutes left, you have 20 minutes of it. All right. Very good. So we talked about, is it the Garden favorite venue to see anything? Is it the old Garden? I love Boston Garden. I miss it. I had stadium seats, so I couldn't see the scoreboard above me, but I could see the clock on the corner. I saw the whole ice. It was just awesome. I just missed the whole. Even when you're walking, it was slopey. It was wrong. It was great. I just missed that. Favorite subject in school back in the day? Favorite subject? Oh God, I didn't really love school. Back in grammar school was social studies, learning about other cultures and stuff like that. I loved it. And in high school, probably composition, because one of my favorite teachers taught it. Okay. It's funny how you remember the teacher sometimes. Yeah, it was writing now, right? But it was composition back then. You had a great line the other day. I don't know who asked you. I heard it
I think I maybe missed the beginning of it, but maybe a reporter asked you. You can correct me on that. But the question was something along the lines of, for all the kids out there, that this is kind of a tough thing for them to be dealing with this. And your answer was something along the lines of, I have found in my life that sometimes these things that happen to you when you're young make you stronger. I thought that was a great line that jumped out right on the radio for me.
It's true, though. It will make them strong. It makes us all stronger, but it definitely make our young people stronger because they lived through something that, not many people could say they did, meaning at that time in history. I didn't realize till just recently that my grandfather was 15 years old, actually 17 years old, and he got the Spanish flu in Ireland. And I didn't realize that. So my mother told me the other day. So you think about that. So he was a strong guy his whole life, and then he lived through that time in Ireland. So people are living through the pandemic of 2020 right now. Boston Mayor Menino did 20 years. I don't know if I've ever heard you answer this question. You probably have been asked it. Maybe I just haven't heard it. But do you want to be a 2-decade mayor? Could you see yourself making a run? No, I don't think that. I think it's too long. I mean, no offense to Mayor Menino, I think it's too long. I plan on running for re-election here. Yeah. I think that there is a timeline that all leaders should lead. I think that 10, 12 years, in my opinion, is the right time to be in a leadership position. I was a legislator for 16. I wouldn't say I wasn't in leadership position, but I think when you're in a legislative body, longevity is okay because you learn how to do it. I think when you're in a position like mine, I think there's always going to be somebody that's going to have other ideas as well.
Looking back to there was such a, Mayor Menino, my whole lifetime growing up was the mayor. You're the next one. It was interesting to think about Boston without him in charge, and everybody was wondering who's it going to be. You wouldn't have ran if you didn't think you could win. We all understand that if you could win, we all know that. But I'm just wondering, was there a point like when you sat down at the desk and said to yourself, "I'm the mayor of Boston. This is unbelievable." Yeah, I mean,
my first day in here, I was kind of like sitting here like, "Oh my God." Actually, the night I won, it was the night I won. Like it was election. I'm at the Park Plaza. I'm in a room waiting for the results, and there was a bunch of people in there, and everyone's kind of running around, and the numbers were coming our way, and then finally the call came, and the call came in that I won, and I was sitting in the seat, and everyone around me was jumping up and down, crying and hugging, and I was just like, "Oh my God, like I just won." Yeah, like it was like it hit me hard. And then when I became in the office, for the first 3 months, I've said this in the past, first 3 months, it was a whirlwind. It was like everybody coming at me and learning. And then one day I was just sitting at right the other end of the table where I'm sitting right now. And I looked out the window and I'm like, okay, I got this. Meaning that I was getting into a rhythm and routine. But sometimes I'll still see a sign, welcome to Dorchester, or welcome to Eastie. And I'll see my name on it and it'll be like, oh my God, I'm the mayor. And it's 7 years later.
Yeah, it's crazy. And did you get the memo on the coffee mug here? Did you bring
I have a Dunkin' Donut one right here.
Oh, nothing's more Boston than that, right?
Yeah, and I was drinking a Doughboy donut a little while ago. So this is my third cup of coffee today. So I'm about to jump up and down.
Big coffee drinker, are you?
No, I am. During this Corona thing, I'm drinking more in the day. Usually I get like one in the morning, maybe two. And that's it. But for some reason, during the coronavirus, I'm here all day, so I'm drinking like three cups a day. Well, two and a half. That's a small one. I'll drink two decent sized ones and a small one.
This is my go-to. I get the previously mentioned the dogs. I love dogs. There you go. So that's my.
I should have brought a mug. I don't even have a mug around me. I'll have next time I'm on the radio.
Well, good. There you go. Now you've locked yourself into another show somewhere down the line. That's fantastic. Good. I wonder, as we come to the final moments here, again, great to be joined by Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. Where do you see the next couple weeks going here as we enter the summertime? And I know there's a lot of the fears, public officials, weather gets warmer, people like to be outside. What is the message that you want to get out there?
I think it's important. I think that the more disciplined we are with social physical distancing and wearing masks and things like that, the shorter this is going to last. And what I'm anticipating right now, that this is going to go on for between 8 months to a year. And I think that we don't want to live that way for that long. And I think the way we don't live the way that long, if we're not going to get a vaccine, which we're not going to have one probably for 18 months, we need to be disciplined right now and drown out the virus. And I just ask people, like, we want to get beyond this. If you're tired of talking about coronavirus, if you're tired of dealing with coronavirus, then what you do is we don't spread the coronavirus. And no one's doing it intentionally, but just by not taking the safety precautions, you're doing it unintentionally, and it's going to continue to go. So I would just ask people to stay disciplined as we get into this nice weather. I mean, listen, we all want to be outside. We all want to do stuff, but just understand that, you don't know the circumstances other people are in, and we want to make sure they're safe.
Are you proud of the city? I know I saw you a little bit angry there. You don't show it too often, but I can tell when you're angry. You weren't happy with the salty bars there right off the bat. All those kids going to the bars, and you weren't happy with, I think it was Castle Island, some congregating.
Yeah, Castle Island, a few other places. I know I am very proud of the city. I mean, this is a tough time. Even the folks that are out there, it's challenging. I mean, in the very beginning, I was going after millennials so much. I was like, I better stop doing that because they're going to be pissed at me. But at the end of the day, most people are doing what they need to do to keep themselves and their family safe. And, it's a challenging time. I just say to people, if you're out there and you're struggling with this, whether it's, struggling with, not addiction, alcoholism, but if you're with that too, mental health, just, reach out to somebody and call somebody. You might be thinking you're bothering them, but you're probably helping.
The millennials, we're a very sensitive group. A lot of us have, kids and families now. I think it's a lot of these people that are maybe the generation just under us.
Yeah, you have Twitter and Instagram accounts too. So, and you're not afraid to express your feeling on them. Well,
hopefully you're getting more good than bad. I know sometimes only the bad pops up. I know, and
it's okay. I don't mind. It's you just I just tune it out.
Speaking of that, you have these final days here. I know people are going to be, we saw Governor Baker's house, a lot of protesters and all that. It seems like you've kind of avoided people generally, it seems, have approved of the way you're handling this. You've been a nice steady hand. So as somebody who lived in Brighton for 5 or 6 years, I appreciate that. When I look at the leaders who are that steady hand, whether it be, Dr. Fauci too. I just think it means so much in the pandemic because we're all on the same team, really, when it comes down to it.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, and the other day people were at the governor's house, and, when I was a labor leader, I never believed in going to somebody's house. They have a family and there's people in the neighborhood and things like that. I think that people can express their feelings. It's the State House in the front or City Hall are in the front. I just think that, everyone has families and neighborhoods. So, I felt for the governor that day because, I've seen it in different places. Even with labor, anytime somebody went to somebody's house, I just completely didn't agree with it because it just doesn't make any sense to me. There's too many things, or people, that's their space, and not so much them, the people around them and their family is impacted. So, but it's a tough time. That was more of a protest for not opening things up than anything else. But I guess people have the right to do what they want to do.
Needless to say, the toughest thing you've ever experienced as mayor here so far?
Yeah, because the longevity of it, there's no question about it. We've had tough moments. I wasn't the mayor in 2013 when the marathon bombing happened, but I was the mayor for the first year of the anniversary. My first 3 months in office, we lost 2 firefighters, Boston firefighters, Eddie Walsh and Michael Kennedy. I've had young people being shot and killed, little kids, and saw a lot of that sadness and violence. This, as far as longevity and deep impacts throughout the city. This coronavirus is impacting every single resident in the city of Boston, some way or form, some shape or form. So it's been complicated and difficult, but we're going to keep doing this a day at a time and get through it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Boston Mayor, again, thank you, Marty Walsh. Thank you so much again for the time. I appreciate it very much. I know you're a busy man, and thank you for taking some time for us here today.
Thanks for having me.
And very good. And all the best as you go forward. Thank you, Boston Mayor. Marty Walsh.
Talk to you soon.
All right, Mayor. Thanks.
Bye.
That was great.
Good job.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. We're back here with Sarah. Unbelievable job keeping the dogs quiet. I really appreciate that.
I think I did my job.
That was fantastic. You took a lot of pride in that today because usually the dogs show up.
They usually do, yes. It was actually easy. They're exhausted, so
that's good.
Laid in the other room.
Yeah, well, I was out, playing with them earlier, so.
So you did all the work today.
Well, that was great. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. That's not what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to say that.
He's doing it all.
Doing it all. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, fantastic interview, in my unbiased opinion. But no, he's a really busy guy. We appreciate him taking the time and doing our little show here, so that was cool. Were you listening in the back?
I was listening in the other room. It was a great interview.
Oh, you liked it, did you?
Yeah, my favorite part was when he said he's a hugger.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he certainly has the Boston accent, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has a great accent.
You can see him, of course, from there. His hair looks, it's politician perfect. Mine is, I got to stop having guests on, I think, whose hair looks so good.
Yeah.
It's a few in a row now. I've lost control.
They're making you look bad.
I've just lost control. It's like, I don't know. What can you do with this?
I think you have great hair. You just have to let it go.
And you know what? That's all that really matters.
Right.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
But he was great, though. And like I said, I think, this is kind of politics aside at this point. When you're dealing with a global pandemic, it's nice to have a steady hand in leadership. And I think he's done a really good job for the city. Mm-hmm. And obviously he's popular. He's been here, what do you say, 2014? I think it's quite a run going. He doesn't want to do 20 years. I don't know if you caught that part.
I did hear that part. Yeah,
he's not going to. He's got a number in mind, 10 to 12, I guess. So, but Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, we appreciate you taking the time. Boy, here comes summertime, right? Memorial Day come and gone, and off we go. What do you got planned? Anything summer cool? No concerts for us.
Schedule's wiped clean.
Schedule's wiped clean. We hope you're all doing all right out there. I mean, it's tough. Everybody, warm weather, people still trying to do the right thing and stay socially distant. Hope everybody's doing it and doing okay. And if you're not, call somebody, like the mayor said. I thought that was good advice, because there are people battling their own demons who isolation doesn't help. So hopefully, let's see, what do we got for Thursday? We got some good guests coming up. I guess I won't tease them for the rest of the week and for the weeks to come. Oh, one thing I do have to mention. So what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to not change our schedule at all, but I might have to make some schedule changes coming up, because I am getting my wisdom teeth removed in a couple days. And I have severe anxiety about this. You wonder why, Drew's not really in high school. That seems to be when most people get this done. Why does Drew not have his wisdom teeth out? Well, I've been putting it off.
I was going to say, because you put it off.
I put it off.
And I have to deal with you. I kind of wish your mom dealt with this in high school.
Well, that's very rude.
No, I'm not. I know you're going to be a big baby about it, and I don't want to have to.
All right. So I think we'll end the show on that uplifting note. Okay. Drew's going to be a baby about his wisdom teeth. No, they are coming out finally. It's happening. Put it off long enough and started giving me some issues. So I'm going to go, and I'll let you know about any schedule changes as they happen. But for now, my wife, Sarah Conway. I'm Drew Moholland. Big thanks to Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. This has been Live from Drew's House, another edition. We'll see you next time, folks. All right, bye-bye. Thank you.